Alright, let's dive into the fascinating world of Superman's history, with detailed insights about the early origins, the surprising decisions made by his creators, and how the character evolved into the symbol we know today. This is going to be a thorough exploration of some key moments in the Man of Steel's history, focusing on real facts that shaped his legacy. The birth of Superman, the villain that never was. Most people know Superman as the iconic hero, but what they don't know is that his creators, Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster, initially conceived him as a villain. In the early 1930s, while both Siegel and Shuster were high school students in Cleveland, Ohio, they came up with the idea of a villainous character named Superman. This version of the character was nothing like the heroic figure we know today. He was described as a bald, telepathic villain with a lust for power and world domination. Siegel and Shuster were inspired by the dark and grim science fiction stories of the time, and they envisioned Superman as a force of chaos rather than justice. In fact, Siegel published a short story in 1933 titled The Reign of the Superman, where the character is a villain. The story was about a vagrant named Bill Dunn who was transformed into a superhuman by an evil scientist. The experiment grants him incredible powers, but instead of using them for good, Dunn becomes corrupt and attempts to conquer the world. However, his powers eventually fade, and he loses everything. This initial version of Superman was an anti-hero, focused on destruction and selfish gain rather than protecting the innocent. The idea of a villainous Superman didn't catch on, but Siegel and Shuster kept experimenting. They believed in the concept of a Superman, but it took them a few more years to reshape the character into something new. By 1934, they had transformed Superman into the more familiar heroic figure, an alien from the planet Krypton who was sent to Earth to protect humanity. The bald villain was replaced by a heroic figure with incredible powers and a strong sense of justice. This reimagining led to the birth of the Superman we recognize today, and it was a pivotal moment in the development of the superhero genre, selling Superman's rights for $130. Another significant chapter in Superman's history comes with the heartbreaking sale of his rights. After reworking the character into a hero, Siegel and Shuster worked tirelessly to get Superman published. It wasn't easy. Many publishers rejected the concept, saying that the idea of a flying, super-strong hero was too far-fetched for readers. Finally, in 1938, Siegel and Shuster managed to sell the concept of Superman to DC Comics, then known as National Allied Publications. But here's where the story takes a tragic turn. In need of money and eager to see their character in print, Siegel and Shuster sold the rights to Superman for a mere $130. Adjusted for inflation, that's roughly $2,500 today, an astonishingly low amount considering Superman's future success. They had no idea at the time that Superman would go on to become one of the most lucrative and influential characters in pop culture history. Superman debuted in Action Comics #1 in June 1938, and the character was an instant hit. The first issue sold out quickly, and readers were immediately captivated by this larger-than-life hero with his bright costume, powers, and moral compass. DC Comics realized they had a gold mine on their hands, and Superman quickly became the face of the company. He paved the way for an entire genre of superheroes, including Batman, Wonder Woman, and The Flash, among others. But for Siegel and Shuster, the success of Superman came with a bitter realization. Despite creating one of the most iconic characters of all time, they had sold the rights and would not share in the vast profits that Superman generated. Over the years, they tried several times to regain some financial control of their creation. In 1947, they filed a lawsuit against DC Comics, hoping to regain the rights or at least receive more compensation for Superman's success. They lost the case, and their connection to Superman remained tenuous for much of their lives. It wasn't until the 1970s, after years of lobbying by fans and fellow comic creators, that Siegel and Shuster were finally given some recognition and financial compensation. DC Comics agreed to pay them an annual pension and gave them official credit as the creators of Superman, a small but important victory for the men who had given the world such an enduring symbol of hope. Superman's golden age and evolution. As Superman gained popularity in the late 1930s and early 1940s, he became a cultural icon during what is now known as the golden age of comics. His stories reflected the ideals of truth, justice, and the American way, especially during the difficult years of World War II. Superman's battles against corrupt businessmen, criminals, and even Nazi spies struck a chord with readers, and his image was used in war propaganda to promote patriotism and inspire the public. Superman's abilities also evolved during this time. In his earliest appearances, Superman's powers were relatively modest compared to what we see today. He could leap tall buildings in a single bound, but he wasn't yet capable of true flight. He had incredible strength but wasn't invincible. However, as the stories progressed, his powers expanded. By the 1940s, Superman could fly, had heat vision, and was virtually indestructible. These powers cemented his status as the ultimate superhero, setting the standard for the many heroes that followed. Superman also became the first superhero to have his own radio show, The Adventures of Superman, which aired from 1940 to 1951. The radio show introduced new elements to the character's mythos, including the famous phrase up, and away, and his vulnerability to kryptonite, a now famous weakness that was created specifically for the radio show to give Superman more dramatic challenges. Superman's influence on pop culture. Superman's influence extends far beyond the comic book world. Over the decades, he has appeared in numerous films, television shows, and animated series, solidifying his place as a central figure in popular culture. The 1978 movie Superman. The movie, starring Christopher Reeve, was a massive success and helped revitalize interest in superhero films. Directed by Richard Donner, the film presented Superman as a hopeful and noble figure, and Reeves' portrayal became the definitive version of the character for an entire generation. The movie's famous tagline, "You'll believe a man can fly," captured the wonder that audiences felt watching Superman soar through the sky. Reeves' Superman was the epitome of truth and justice, and the film's success led to several sequels, further embedding the character in cinematic history. Another significant moment in Superman's history came with the release of the Death of Superman storyline in 1992. In this comic arc, Superman faces off against the monstrous villain Doomsday in an epic battle that ultimately leads to his death. The storyline shocked readers and garnered widespread media attention, proving that even a character as seemingly invincible as Superman could face true danger. Of course, Superman was later resurrected, as superheroes often are, but the storyline remains one of the most famous in comic book history. Superman today, a lasting legacy. Superman's legacy continues to grow, and he remains one of the most beloved and recognized characters in the world. While other superheroes have gained popularity in recent years, particularly with the rise of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Superman's place in history is secure. He is the original superhero, the one who started it all, and his influence can be seen in nearly every hero that has followed. The character has also become a symbol of hope and resilience. Superman stands for the idea that no matter how strong or powerful someone is, what truly matters is their character and willingness to do the right thing. He represents the best in humanity, even though he is not human himself. As new generations of fans continue to discover Superman, his story evolves to reflect the times. Whether he's fighting for justice in comic books, on the big screen, or in animated series, Superman's message remains the same, that with great power comes great responsibility, and that anyone can be a hero if they stand up for what is right. Superman's journey, from being conceived as a villain to becoming the world's greatest hero, is a testament to the power of storytelling and the enduring appeal of characters who inspire us to be better. And while Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster may not have reaped the financial rewards of their creation, their legacy lives on in every Superman comic, movie, and TV show. They gave the world a hero who transcends time, space, and even kryptonite. A hero who will always be there to remind us that hope is the strongest superpower of all. If you've made it this far, check out the channel for more fascinating stories and hidden facts about your favorite heroes.